Can I tell you the bag thing?
Tell me the bag thing.
Okay, so
I mean, I followed it on Instagram, but yeah.
So Tova and I, we're flying into Phoenix, and we are going to go to Sedona. That's where the spa thing is. So we go a day early to Phoenix.
Famous spot for spas, right?
Yeah, and it's 2.5 hours away. There's no airport near it. So we're going to land in Phoenix. The next day, we set up a car to go to the spa. We land. Tova and I, when we travel, like travel just is tough. I think our biggest fights are like during travel days. And at this point, I think I'm honestly more stressed about like the fight I think is going to happen than the fight that does happen, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. It's
Is it on the actual travel or is it the lead up to travel?
The lead up, the like.
Nicole has a lot of anxiety leading up to travel.
Yeah.
And it sometimes manifests as like also just she'll pack 3 days before the trip.
Oh my God.
And in my mind, that's crazy. Because we have to do laundry the day before we go, so I have everything that I want. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
So it's like just two very different things of like, you know, of like, and some could argue positives and negatives to both, you know? Mm-hmm. So anyways, but we realized.
You're like, I won't argue any positives, but sure. There's a positive there somewhere.
We realized early on, though, that she gets a lot of anxiety like leading up to it. And just recognizing that was a big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a mix of that. I think like I know travel. Bottom line is like, and also we're both working. We're both phone addicts. Sometimes Tova, I don't pay attention in a way that I think Tova wants. Mm-hmm. And like, it's just travel. And so this is the worst case scenario. This is like, we went into this trip being like, all right, let's really try to, let's make this an easy day.
Yeah.
And so we get there. We wait at the wrong baggage claim for a while. And we're not the only ones to do it.
Yeah.
But, you know, Tova was taking a phone call for work. And in theory, I guess I was probably supposed to be more in charge, but I was kind of just half looking. And you're just waiting for your bag.
Oh, no.
You're just waiting for your bag, and then it doesn't come.
You're on your phone.
And now, to be fair, like there was another flight from LaGuardia to Phoenix, same airline, and other people were confused too. And so then we find out it's this other one behind us. We see my bag, no Tova bag. And immediately I feel this like listen, I travel every weekend and sometimes I move slow to that baggage claim. I've never had anything stolen. Once I saw someone taking my bag away and it was a big yellow bag, so I'm pretty sure they were stealing it, but I've never had anything happen. I travel 50, 70 times a week. But
it's a wild gamble to just steal a bag. You don't know what's in it.
And I've also I've had the bag not be there, and then you look by the baggage claim and they have it there, and someone moved it. So it doesn't come, and I just assume it's somewhere else. We go to that place, the Delta area, the bag is not there. I'm starting to feel it. I'm starting to feel this dread.
Yeah.
And we go up to them. We say, "What happened?" The woman, first, everyone in Arizona, in Phoenix, they talked. They like to talk to the Uber driver, the yoga teacher, everyone in Arizona really wanted kind of just small talk in a way that me and Tova are not those people. Not that we're rude about it, but we're just like, oh my God.
No, there's a thing where you're like, it's a lot. That's so much energy to like have to.
Yeah, we had an Uber driver. He missed the final turn because he was still wanted to talk to us. We think. God. This is the sketch I want to write where he started. He was like, I went to Israel recently. First he said he was talking about his life. And whenever he said, "Oh, what did you used to do for work?" He's like, "Oh, I used to work for Lockheed Martin."
Oh yeah.
I remember once they gave us a free trip to Israel. Oh, beautiful city. And then he said, "But yeah, God, what we're doing we're helping Ukraine, and they're killing all these Russian kids." And he's like, yeah, for Lockheed Martin, I built Apache helicopters. And like, he just went back and forth he was so politically interesting. Then he told us about how he was an atheist and why religion is silly.
Okay.
Mixed with saying we're giving too much money to Ukraine and they're killing Russian children, mixed with being fully pro-Israel with no
Yeah.
mention of Palestine, period, mixed with he helped build the helicopters that are doing all the war crimes everywhere. Shocking. And then into atheism. And I was like, I also don't believe in God now.
It's like a wild, yeah.
Wild. So there's this woman at the baggage claim, and I think her name is Kirsten. And I think I'll put the video of when we get this bag back. But she, this is where she works here, and she keeps going. It's rare that people steal bags. It is almost always here, or someone took it by accident. But anything's possible.
Yeah.
And every time she talks to us to try to reassure us, she ends it with going, but anything's possible. And I'm like, first of all, I'm aware anything's possible.
Yeah.
Don't need it. Every time she says it. And I'm just like, please just lie to us right now.
Yeah, yeah.
And so then they start doing, like, they get a cop to come down, and the cop, he looks at the security footage, and he basically said, like, yeah, I looked at the first 3 rotations of the belt, and your bag was still on it that whole time. So whatever happened after. And I was like, okay, could you go back to the footage and
watch more
until something happens to it? And he's like, smart thinking. Let me go. I'll be back.
God.
And then he comes back. He shows us a picture, and then now it feels like a kidnapped child. He shows us a picture. He says, "Is this your bag?" And first, I was getting coffee for Tova, and Tova says, "Can you come back? This guy is showing me the bag. It's clearly not the bag." And I go to the picture, and he's like, "I think this is your bag." And I was like, "No, that bag's black. Or this is olive green." And he goes, "The lighting is off. Trust me." And I'm looking at it. I'm going like,
no.
And then he shows me my bag, and mine, both of them were overweight.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "There's no overweight thing on that." And he goes, "Nah, sometimes they don't put it on." And it's one of these things where it feels like
you're like watching the crime documentary where you're like, you're failing at the job of a detective.
Yeah.
Like you're making like if this was a real crime and a real thing, it's like, no, just you're being so lazy. Just like,
and he said to Toby, he kept going, he goes, "But you said your bag was like big, like this, and it was a rolly bag." And she's like, "Yeah, but it's not a 2 out of 3 situation. It's either the bag or it's not." and so then he keeps going like, "Listen, there's some woman who's coming who used to be a detective and now works in baggage claim and is gonna. She's like, you're lucky this woman still works here. She's retiring in 2 weeks. You got her. She's the best in the business." And the cop talks about her too. He's like, "I'm not even good at this, but she's really good." And so this baggage claim woman is like talking about this woman like she's Dr. House.
Yeah.
Like just like she gets it done. And so she tells a story. She goes, "Let me tell you this woman. She has all the cameras, the license plate." She says, "Let me tell you this story. I got a new car. It got scratched. In the parking lot of the airport. I went to this woman. She put in the license plate and the cameras, and it was incredible." And I said, "And did they find out who scratched it?" She was like, "No." They didn't have a camera in the part that would see my car, but anything's possible. And
oh my God.
And so then we're waiting for this woman for a long time. It hasn't come for like an hour. And this is like, there's been crying, there's been fighting, there's been all these things. And we're like, "Is this woman here?" And she's like, "Oh, yeah, she's on her way. I guess in the break room, a fist fight broke out." And I was like,
In the break room?
In the break room of the airport. And we're like, there's a whole universe.
World.
There is and I'm sure it's been tried, but I'm like, this is a workplace comedy.
Yeah.
I want to do a short form series of the baggage claim detective.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So basically, this detective, she gets our number somehow, and suddenly she texts us a picture that says, "Is this your bag?" And it's like a grainy photo, and it's like, yes, that's the bag. Yeah. And it has the overweight sticker on it, and it's the right color.
Wow.
And so they basically they looked at the footage. They look at other flights where a bag was left behind. So basically, they're trying to see, is there another bag that looks similar? And maybe they took it because it looks similar.
Oh.
But it wasn't. There was no remaining Delta flight bag, so it was actually United flight. And first we said, like, how could someone mix up this bag? And this woman keeps going like, "Trust me, you'd be amazed what people mix up.
Yeah.
And telling a story is this woman, she came in, her bag was this bag, she took a bag, this bag. She came in the next day, said she was an alcoholic and started drinking again. And that's why,
Oh my
like,
God.
she's got stories for days.
Yeah.
And so they track it down.
And just old people too, probably. Just
yes.
Like,
But this bag was 54 pounds.
Yeah.
So we're like, how could you, it's just a 74-year-old woman.
Yeah.
Took this bag. And we're like, oh my God, we found it.
Yeah.
So we know who took it. They're able to track it
Yes.
down. And then they go, airports, it seems like if they lose your bag, no matter where you are, they'll get you that bag somehow.
Yeah.
That's like the one thing that the service, they do seem to have covered no matter
Yes.
what. Because there's a degree with like airplanes where you're like, I understand all this costs money, but you're like, you're making a lot of money. When do you go, oh, we fucked up?
Yeah.
We're going to make it right if it cost $1,000.
Yeah.
The plane just made us $50,000.
Right.
They say this woman went to, I wrote it down. She went to Yuma, 4 hours away from the airport.
Oh, God.
She's visiting her son who lives on an army base. I guess there's lots of army bases in Arizona. And they're like, that's too far for us to go and get. And I'm like, the most miserable part was, oh my God, we got the bag, but we're going the next day to the spot. All of Tova's belongings are in it.
Yeah.
And may I add this, to add a complicating factor, shroom chocolate.
Oh.
Now, Tova, before we left, said, and this is me, she said, do you want to split up the shroom chocolate like in both our bags? And I said jokingly, yuck, yuck. I said, no, only one of us should have to go to jail. So now we have no shrooms for the spa weekend. That's the only reason, arguably, that we're going.
Yeah.
To do shrooms in a different location. That's what vacation is in your 30s for me.
Yeah.
And, but in our mind, we're also going like, so they contact the woman. We've left the airport now. They said, you might as well leave the airport. But it's still, I'm feeling tense.
Yeah.
Now Tova's got to go shopping just in case we don't get the bag back.
Yeah.
And then there's a question of how much will they reimburse?
Right.
What's allowed? And it is not clear.
Yeah.
There's a limit of like $3,000. But like, you also don't know if they're going to accept the things that you submit.
Right.
And then you got to deal with the airport. You got to deal with the holds. It's a nightmare. They find the woman. Great. 30 minutes later. So what's going on? She's not going to bring it back. And we go, she's not going to bring it back.
Send her to jail.
We'll send it. I say, well, she stole it. And they go like, well, she didn't steal it. It was a mistake. And I go, no.
Doesn't matter,
If
no.
she took it and now knows it is that, she stole it.
Yeah. It's like you can't just mistakenly take a car and then when you're like, hey, you got to return that car, you're like, oh, I didn't know. And then you just don't return it.
Yeah.
You're a robber. You're a robber.
And
you're a criminal.
And so now we go like, do we file a police report?
Yeah.
But then I have this other thing in the back of my mind. I'm like, what if they find the shrooms?
Oh. Is that bad though?
It depends on the state. In Arizona, let me tell you, there were a
like-
lot of Trump
doesn't
hats
feel
in that airport.
It doesn't feel like if we were in Vermont, I think we're probably going to be okay. Yeah.
Arizona feels like one of those where it's like, you get 20 years in jail.
Yeah.
And let me tell you,
a firing squad.
and it's also like, it's moments like that where I go like, Trump's not bailing me out of that one.
No.
If when I travel, if I ever get in Russia and I like Brittany Griner, Trump's not helping me out with that one. They're gonna look at my old tweets immediately. Where are you going?
I'm just getting
give me a water
fridge. Yeah.
So
Just a regular water?
yeah, thank you. So her son is not allowed. Thank you. Is not allowed to leave the military base until he gets like permission from a sergeant or whatever the fuck. He's going to bring it back though. So ultimately her son brings it back by 8 a.m, which is when we leave to go to the spot. And we got it. We got it.
You did get it. So wait, her son did bring it back.
Her son brought it back. He must have gone up at 4 a.m.
We did it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Sorry. I guess the people were very difficult. The police had to get involved in everything because they said, well, she's 72. And you could see on the camera she was older. But the son, I guess, is in the military and they wouldn't give him permission to leave. And she doesn't drive or something. I don't know.
And Tova was like, her poor son, you know, his fucking mom visits him, you know, 74-year-old mom, and then finds out his mom's going to go to jail if he doesn't wake up at 4 a.m. and drive this bag back to fucking Phoenix.
That's so crazy.
But we got it. And so a real shout out to the airport.
Shout out to that son too. That's, you know,
That's a good son.
that's a good son.
That's
Not what you want to do on a holiday.
It was, but it was, man, it was a miserable. You lose a bag. That's
Yeah.
a rough time.
Yeah.
So shout out Kirsten, especially.
Kirsten,
you were
detective.
And that detective. We never met her.
Oh, you never met her. You just heard of
We
her
never
work.
met her. We heard she died getting this bag back.
Oh my God.
On the military base, they shot
Wow.
her at sight.
You're listening to The Downside
The Downside.
with Gianmarco Soresi.